Hi everyone, welcome back. As you can see here on my Mavic Mini here, I've broken some propellers for the first time. These propellers are very thin, you know, so it doesn't take much to damage them. So today we're gonna show you just a short clip of what happened and how I broke them, and something for you to avoid. Anyways, stick around and watch us change the props. Shit. Oh my God. Okay, the first thing we're going to need here is this tiny screwdriver. This is my first time using it. She's pretty tiny. Okay, so we need that. Now, here are the props. And one thing with the props is they do include tiny screws for it, because they are expecting you to, when you change your props, to discard the screws that are already in there. Reason being is they have what they call Loctite on the end of each screw that holds the screw in place. Now, one thing I'm going to try one day is I'm going to pick up. There's a solution you can buy, the Loctite. And one day when we have to do this again, which I hope isn't too soon, because I really do not like the idea of these screw-on props. Anyways, we'd like to use the old screws, and what we would do is we would put a little dab of Loctite on that screw and just try it. But anyways, they do... when you do order extra props, they will provide you with the screws, so it's not a big issue. Okay, now these screws are very tiny. And they're hard to get out of this package. Okay, so we got one screw there. Okay, now what we're doing to change these props is we're actually going to change it on the lid of the case for the Mavic Mini, being it has this little ledge on here, and if you were out in the field and you needed to do this, this is the ideal spot, because you can see how tiny these little screws are. I don't know if you can see that, but they're very, very tiny. And you don't want to drop them in the grass or anything, because you definitely would lose them. So, okay, now for the props here. Okay, now one thing I noticed is with the props there, like on the front left there's like one stripe on the propeller, and on the left there's one stripe, and on the right there's two stripes. So usually the front right and the back left are usually matching propellers, and same with the left side matching the right back. And as you can see, when I broke these off, the propellers here on the back, I have no reference. I have no reference as to which is which, because the markings that are on there have been broken off. So let's take a look at the propellers we just opened up. Okay, so we have one with one stripe, another one with one stripe, another one with two stripes, and another one with two stripes. So because we have the two stripes here, we're going to put these two over here, and these two single ones here to match this one we're going to put right here. So let's get started. Now, one thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure you have a good visibility of that. Now, I noticed another thing too is on the frame, they do have a little tick mark on the right hand side on the arm, and another little tick mark at the back on this side here, and that is supposed to be a reference to the props. So let's grab these and see if there's any kind of corresponding mark. And you know what, there is. If you take a look right here, this here has that same mark that's here, okay, and it's up here on this one here. So so these props are the correct props. They are marked the same with the arm. So let's put those back there. Okay, now I think what we'll do is we'll do this arm here first, and we'll just stick the screwdriver in there, and we'll try and hold that in place. Okay, now that came out pretty good. Now you want to set that aside. We'll set it right down here. Now what we'll do is we have our new prop. We're going to stick the screw in there first, And then we're going to try and line it up with that hole. And then as you can see, the holes there are very, very tiny. Now, I wouldn't suggest over tightening, but definitely make sure that it is in there really snug, and make sure it's pushed down. Like, you know, when you move this up and down, you don't want this bobbing up and down, so make sure that's secure. And then also, you know, make sure it actually can swivel. So that one there is done, so let's take out the next one. This is very, very finicky. You know, I wish they hadn't have done this. That's what I love about the Mavic Air and the other Mavics, you know. You just had to pop the propellers in, give them a turn, and that was it. You were done. If I was out in the field, I would be very frustrated doing this, but you know, they had to keep the cost down, so this was their option. Anyways, we will manage. So let's grab another screw. Okay, again, we'll put the tiny screw in there. It's in place, and then line it up. This is the hole right here. As you can see, it's very, very tiny. It's really hard to line up. As you can see, I just dropped the screw, so you know, that's the great thing about having it in this tray here. Shows you how easy it can happen. Okay, so there you have it. We have one side done. Now let's do the other side. This is not as easy as some of these guys are making it look. Prepare to spend you know, a few minutes trying to change these, and light is important. My eyes aren't the greatest, so it's really hard to see these tiny holes and these tiny screws. Okay guys, we have the props on. I'm going to tell you right now, this is no easy task, you know, so I would be really careful about breaking these props. I definitely found it to be a bit of a headache. I know my eyes aren't that great, but I think even if you have good eyes there, it's not going to be the easiest thing to do. Anyways, the props are changed. I think what we're also going to do is, when we first got it, we really didn't tighten up all the props. So we're just going to double check all the other props. And that seems pretty snug. We're going to check the front one here. Those are pretty snug. Okay, those are pretty snug. And then on the right hand side, that's pretty snug. And that's pretty snug. Okay, so all the props are changed and everything looks great. Now I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna stick a battery in her, and I think because she did have a bit of a crash, the one thing I definitely want to do, and you might want to think of doing, is if you ever do have to change the props, recalibrate your IMU just to make sure everything is good on the drone. Anyways, I hope this was informative. I hope you learned something about changing the props, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching.